This is the ATI.
Hello and welcome back to the ATI podcast, episode 45 here today. Things look a little bit different today. Barrett, your usual host here. I've got Brandon, a.k.a. Nod Narb, here in the co-pilot seat today. Josh is on a family gathering today with our very special guest, Slammer, a professional wrestler. Slammer, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing awesome.
Real good.
Thanks.
Real good.
Thank you for doing the show.
Hey, you're welcome.
And Slammer, we just kind of wanted to start the conversation off today, as we do with most of our guests, and kind of talk about how and when did you get into professional wrestling? What drew you to professional wrestling initially? And let's start things there.
Man, I was just like everybody else, just a lifelong fan, huge WWF fan as a little kid, as you probably know, big Hulk Hogan fan. It was. If anybody asks me what I want to do when I grow up, I want to be a professional wrestler. That's that, you know. And,
yeah.
Did you ask when I started wrestling?
Yeah. When did you say that? Maybe initially too. Is there like a first match that you saw that sparked, really set the hook in you for being a fan and wanting to pursue this as a career?
Man, I wouldn't say there's necessarily a match. Just. Mm-hmm. You know, we watched world-class championship wrestling when I was a little kid, and watching Von Erichs and all that, it was just like, I guess that really what sparked it all. And then it was just one day I just flipped the channel to WWF Superstars, and those guys are just big and over the top. And I was like, oh man, this is great. So I would say that's the whole spark right there. And as you can tell by the room behind me, this is a life collection of toys and wrestling stuff, and I just love it.
When it comes to world class, of course, that was a very popular promotion, basically based out of Texas, and the Von Erichs you mentioned. So anybody that's listening to our show and they're wondering what world class is, the Von Erichs were basically the family that ran the promotion. They were the megastars of the promotion. Had some pretty heated rivalries, particularly with the Freebirds. So if anybody wants to go back and look at anything involving the Von Erichs, there's also more recently in media, Dark Side of the Ring did an episode on the Von Erichs, and I highly recommend that. It's highly emotional. And even that, they're making a movie about the Von Erich family.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yep, an A24 production with Zac Efron in it. The kid from, what's the show called? The Bear or something like that, the cooking show on FX.
Zac Efron's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, most notably, obviously, Baywatch. I mean, that's the number one thing that everybody would know him by. High School Musical, maybe.
Right. I was going to say High School Musical. I've got a daughter that was a High School Musical junkie, so yeah.
There you go. Yeah, that definitely had its huge fandom and following. But yeah, so definitely want to, anybody who hasn't checked them out, they're worthwhile if you guys are pro wrestling fans. But, I would imagine, Slammer, that you grew up kind of in the boom of the WWF too, as it kind of started its global expansion as well, buying out the territories, essentially, in short, or suffocating them out, quite frankly.
Pretty much.
And so there's a lot
stuff we really never knew when we were kids watching it.
Right. Yeah, you don't know all that behind the scenes stuff back in the day whenever you're a kid, but nowadays there's so much media out there. Podcasts we were talking about before we got on the show today. There's a lot of wrestling podcasts out there. There's a lot of documentaries, even the Dark Side, Tales from the Territories. So Vice is a network that I watch a lot personally, and have a lot of interesting programming centered around professional wrestling in and of itself too. So But back to you, Slammer. So the WWF early fandom, I know a lot of us, that's what we all recognize as professional wrestling, or at least we've seen it by accident at the very least.
Yep.
And I know that, you had mentioned Hulk Hogan, being a fan of him. Was there anybody else in your younger years that you really drew yourself to? In looking at some of your memorabilia, I've seen things like Macho Man. I've seen stuff with Razor Ramon. I've seen Ultimate Warrior. Any of those guys in particular?
You just struck the top three: Hogan, Warrior, Macho Man. That's the top three, 100%.
Right on.
Anybody 90s, man. I loved Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I love the Bushwhackers. I'm friends with Bushwhacker Luke, and that's just cool to, somebody that you've watched your whole life actually get to become a friend with him. And of course, all the crazy 90s stuff, Nash, Hall, Stone Cold, Rock, Mick Foley, all those guys.
Absolutely.
I honestly don't know of a wrestler that I really just don't like.
Sure. Well, the 90s was, of course, I would consider the boom, just because it was a perfect timing of everything, kind of some of the counterculture things that were going on in the 90s, television and cable expansion. The WWE starts to be the lead dog, but WCW had that 83 weeks of them being number one in television as well. So there was some competition. The only real competition, quite frankly, that WWF, now WWE, ever really had for any significant amount of time. But, I recall watching the very first match that I watched from start to finish, would be Scott Hall, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 10 ladder match. That definitely was like, I need to watch this routinely going forward.
Yeah.
It's an incredible match, still yet holds up today if anybody would even watch that. And I know Brandon here, he didn't get much of an experience with wrestling, but we're on a mission to expose him to some professional wrestling. So we have a little program called Knobnard's Closet, at which I am picking out matches, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, some of the more infamously bad as well, and showing them to Brandon so he understands kind of what's out there in the wrestling world. And
because I never really got exposed to it much whatsoever, because none of my family ever watched it. But there's a little bit of hilarity over on that side of things, and I think we're going to be doing another one here soon. But yeah, it's definitely eye-opening, and especially with like Dark Side of the Ring, that you get to see that type of stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Dark Side of the Ring's another thing that I've gotten Brandon into. Of course, we're both movie and film buffs, TV junkies to an extent, and Dark Side of the Ring, of course, has kind of a true crime element to it too, and that's another thing that we have interest in too. But it's kind of interesting to see it through Brandon's eyes though too, and this is where I'm going to pivot back into you, Slammer, is he's seeing this stuff for the first time. And I know that I see a lot across your social media, the impressions that you have on young people signing autographs and that sort of stuff. And, I think you're starting to be the beginning of people's fandom as well. Is that kind of some of the experiences that you're having?
It really is. It's one of those things you just never really see happening. And then once it starts happening, it's like, it's crazy when little kids are just super excited to see you. They get the shirt, and I just pass it along, just like Hulk Hogan said, that's my thing, train, say my prayers, eat my vitamins. I did that for life, literally. And, I'm just trying to be a positive role model on people. That's what this is all about.
Well, that's good. The world needs more positivity for sure. And, when it comes to wrestling in particular too, especially we could go back to the 90s. There's a lot of controversial things that happened, and I think the role model aspect kind of fell off the bandwagon for some of the folks, and to keep those things in perspective. But, I would imagine that kind of helps put wind in your sails too, being a guy that's working the indie circuit in particular. It's kind of motivating you to keep going, even at times that you're a little beat and banged up. I know like today, you just had a match last night and feeling a little rough today, perhaps.
My neck's a little tight today.
Yeah. And so the match that you had last night, was that a multi-man elimination tag, kind of in spirit of the old Survivor Series style?
It was the exact thing, a 4-on-4 Survivor Series style match, and I was one of the survivors. We won.
There you go.
3 of us. 3 of the 4 of us survived. So, yeah.
Nice.
Now, that was through Cape Championship Wrestling, right?
That's Cape Championship Wrestling, yep.
And I know that you do a lot with that promotion in particular, and I know Cape Championship Wrestling has events going on quite frequently. Tell me what it's like to work in that organization and with those people.
I mean, if it wasn't for Cape, I would probably not even be doing this at all. It was just, that part of my life where I was like, well, I guess the whole wrestling thing just isn't going to happen. It's taken a long time. And I won some tickets to Cape Championship Wrestling, I guess that in 2017. And they had pretty much been an upstart organization at this time.
Sure.
I got on Facebook. I won some tickets. Matt Hardy was down there. And I was like, cool, I'll go down there to see Matt Hardy, get a picture, watch some wrestling. Then they had a couple of other events that I went to. I think Billy Gunn was down there at one of them. And they had Jeff Hardy come in and do one of his concerts down there. And I got to know the guys running the show down there. And I was like, man, it'd be cool if you guys had some sort of a training or something. I'd done some stuff. And they said, well, we'll keep you posted. And then they decided to start their own training thing in 2018. And I've been with them from the beginning of that, and
that's cool.
So yeah. So what, 4 years later, I'm still down there and we're going strong.
I wasn't even aware that they had a training piece to their stuff, but it makes sense, especially if you're going to be a promotion nowadays. It's, you're kind of cycling in talent for you to work with and work, quite frankly, for you. And I think everybody wins in those scenarios, especially in a regional promotion like that.
And I will plug this if you don't care.
Go for it.
Actually has their new training facility in Sykeston at the Bar Fitness. They got a ring. Brandon Barbwire is the head trainer down there. So if anybody's interested in becoming a professional wrestler, contact Cape Championship Wrestling through their Facebook page. Send them a message. Tell them you want to be a wrestler, and they'll give you the information.
Is Brandon Barbwire a part of the collective that trained you, or who trained you?
Yeah, he's down there. He's the head trainer down there. Him, Justin Smart, Dalton Anthony, those guys are all, the Marco Stunt. He's part of it. So he was down in AEW, and now he had started in CCW and all around the Midwest. But yeah, since he's been back from AEW, he's helping out a lot down at CCW. So
that's cool. Yeah, I remember that he was heavily involved in it prior to getting signed to AEW, and his contract expired, I think. And I hadn't seen he was doing too much since, but was he not at your event last night?
I believe he was sick. So he actually wasn't there.
Okay, I got you. Well, with Cape Championship Wrestling too, I know that probably has provided you other opportunities to work elsewhere. Before we get to that, I didn't want to overlook the fact that you had made a mention of having some previous experiences. And I know that you did kind of a flashback photo the other day, and I saw that you were a wrestler at Central High School. Is that correct? Some amateur stuff?
Yeah, I wrestled in high school. I was okay. Yeah. I mean, nothing. I won some, I lost some. Okay wrestler.
Sure.
My senior year, I ended up breaking my ribs in a match. And
man.
That was like right in the, the first month of the season. I felt pretty good that season too, and it was one of those
freak accidents.
Dude just landed on top of me so hard, and
it takes is hitting just right and somebody landing on you just right too.
Yeah, it hurt. Sure. Boy, I remember that pain really well.
Had you had any other training involving wrestling between this amateur experience and up until you went and trained with the Cape Championship Wrestling guys, the CCW guys?
Yeah, I had if you want the long story, I'll try to sum it up as quick as I can. I'll give you the whole history. So all I want to do is be a wrestler, and this will kind of give you an idea of how the name Slammer came along. If you remember back in the days before internet, there used to be these things called wrestling magazines.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So anyway, you could not find wrestling schools anywhere back in the day. I mean, you might see some stuff in wrestling magazines. There was a school in California called Slammer's Wrestling Gym. So I started writing them letters and stuff when I was a kid, and I was like, I want to come there one day, and the head trainer, Vern Langdon, he was always write me back. He sent me a couple T-shirts. Hope I can come out there one day. Well, anyway, 1996, I actually went out to see Slammer's wrestling gym. So I got to meet him. I got to go to a show, but nothing. I still don't have an answer for you why nothing ever happened, but nothing ever did. So in 97, there was a guy down in Jackson, Missouri named Dan Burdick, and he ran some shows around Missouri. And he was a friend of a guy here in Farmington that was a wrestler, Scott Hastings. He has a Hastings Photography.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him or not, but Scott was a wrestler. And I knew him from Better Bodies Gym. And Scott began to tell me about Dan and hooked me up with him. And I go to some of the shows with him and stuff. And I was going to start going down to Jackson, which isn't very far from here. I was going to go down there and train with him. And then he told me that they were moving back to Minnesota for his wife to have a job. And I was like, and he had trained like Demolition Smash and some other guys from up in Minnesota and all this. So
Minnesota Wrecking Crew, infamous.
Minnesota Wrecking Crew. So anyway, 97 was this was all kind of strange too, because they had moved to Minnesota. And he's like, if you want to come up there and train, come up. And I was like, okay. And I decided that I was going to go up there. And my dad was actually in St. Louis University waiting on a heart transplant. So I told everybody, hey, I'm going to Minnesota to become a wrestler.
Yeah.
So anyway, I left for a couple weeks. After a couple weeks, I was a mental case. I was just like,
I could imagine.
I want to go home. So I went home, and I was like, maybe one day something will come up.
Right.
So I think it was like 2002-ish, I guess, 2001, 2002. A guy named Chris Epps, he went by the name of L.A. Cash on the Independence. Okay. He opened a gym up in Farmington called Iron Horse Gym. And my mom said, hey, I've seen that there's a guy has a wrestling ring over here in Farmington, like wants to get you a membership there. And I was like, sure, why not? So I started to work out there and started training with him in his ring. And we just, would do some stuff every night for a while. And then next thing I know, he moved away and then ended up in Florida. So it was like kind of one of those things, man. Like, dang, maybe wrestling will work out one day. I don't know. Then 2003 came along, of course, me and my wife are married. I got a daughter now. So I'm looking at my career. I got on at UPS in 2003, which I've worked till now. Mm-hmm. So, UPS takes up a lot of time. So
I'm sure
there was really nothing going on with wrestling. I opened my gym up in 2009. I had the Max Gym from 2009 to 2016. And right after we decided to close the gym in 2016, a guy named Brian I opened a Lightning Pro Wrestling training place in Potosi.
Oh,
and
wow.
I kind of caught wind off that, and I literally just liked their page. And by the next morning, I had a message from him asking me, so he's like, I've been going through your stuff. I see, like a picture of you and Hulk Hogan. He's like, are you just a fan? You want to be a wrestler? And I was like, well, I'd love to wrestle. And he's like, why don't you come on out? So I went out there, and I mean, at first it worked out. I mean, we were training, but then it just kind of got away from that. But anyway, we did start holding like some monthly events. It was in Potosi on High Street, right above Tight Bodies Fitness. There was a big room there. We had a wrestling ring in there, and we would just have like free shows for people to come down there to watch it. We were like getting like 60, 70 people in this little building watching us wrestle. So
that's cool.
I think I had a total of probably 10 matches there, and I was the champion before he wanted his belt back, and I don't know what really happened after that, but that was kind of the end of that in 2017. And then like literally several months later, I got those tickets to CCW. I did a wrestling seminar with Jerry Lynn at CCW. He came in and did a wrestling seminar, and I just did that just out of the blue. Mm-hmm. because I just wanted to do anything that I could to learn something, you know. So anyway, it wasn't long after that, then CCW started up. So that's kind of your history of, and that's where the name Slammer came from. Slammer, I just had always wanted to be, you know, Chris Slammer, you know, kind of my paying homage to Slammer's Wrestling Gym, because they cared enough about me to write me back, and I'll just always remember Vernon Slammer's Wrestling Gym.
Yeah, Jerry Lynn is another great worker. So, like, you know, if you had an opportunity to go to one of his seminars, I mean, few better learning trees to sit under as far as I'm concerned, especially workers in the last 30 years or so. And, of course, he's a crucial part of what AEW is doing today. If anybody watches AEW, he's a huge behind-the-scenes guy, huge producer for it. He's often on camera, breaking stuff up. He's a judge in a lot of wrestling matches that require judges, things of that ilk. So, another great guy, another guy to check out. If you guys have never seen professional wrestling, he's a guy that will get you into it for sure.
Especially when he was Mr. JL in WCW.
Yes, sir. Yeah, brief stint in WCW with that. And speaking of gimmicks in and of itself, I just want to talk to you kind of about your gimmick and what your get up. I think I see a lot of homages to characters like Hulk Hogan. Am I far off with that? Kind of what's the idea of your character, and how are you working to build that on social media?
Well, for the most part, anybody always says they like my gimmick, I'm always like, what gimmick? That's just me. You know, I am the guy that walks around all day long. What you gonna do, brother? Anyway, I
like the idea of that. Not to cut you off, but I like the idea of you talking to your wife and child like that. Hey, what's she gonna do, brother?
Every day, I call my wife brother all the time. And she just looks at me. Hey, she's literally known me. We've known each other forever. We've been married 23 years, almost. 98 to. I'm sorry, we've been married 24 years. Anyway, we've known each other since high school. It's like she just thinks it's funny and great.
Sure, absolutely. And kudos to you for staying with somebody for that long. That's a rarity this day and age.
It really is. And you know, the whole Hogan thing that come along with my character, I really didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going to be Chris Slammer. I didn't really know how anything was going to work out. And after about a year of going down to CCW, you know, we setting up the ring, working with the shows, doing whatever they needed us to do. After about a year, we had a big one night riot event. And that's basically a Royal Rumble match, you know, however many people enter in all these times. And the month before that, I was getting ready to leave, and Jason, the booker, said, "Hey, I'm going to have you in the one night riot next month." I was like, okay. And I'm just like, all right, man, Chris Slammer, you know, it's like, okay. And I had no idea what was going to happen with all this. And he just had an idea. He's like, do you have anything kind of, and I didn't have my gear or anything. I had some stuff ordered, but it still wasn't even in. I kept waiting. He's like, you got anything kind of early 90s Hogan looking? I'm like, you mean like this? And it's a tie-dyed Hulkamania shirt. He's like, perfect, wear that. So that's how the whole Slammer Mania started up. You know, my first big thing, you know, Baracus out of St. Louis.
Yes.
Big guy. It was just me and him facing off in the middle of this thing. And it was kind of like a whole Andre Hogan type thing.
Okay.
And the whole Slammer Mania thing, you know, Hogan inspired, you know, it's just kind of caught on. And, you know, I try to stay true to that, but I also want to be me.
You got to be your
own separate. Yeah.
So it's funny when somebody's like, you Hulk Hogan ripoff. I'm like, I don't even look like him.
Right.
I just adhere to the training, prayers, and vitamins. I'm just trying to pass it along.
Yeah. Well, the funny that we're on the Hulk Hogan subject. I know you're a fan and everything. We've already mentioned that, but you know, as far as the aesthetic, like I'd say the closest thing you are, though, it would be kind of the Hollywood Hulk Hogan, but that has a lot to do with the black and white implementations, of course. But also, I mean, are you working a lot of heel style matches? Are you working babyface? Or are you doing both?
99% babyface. That's just me. That's just kind of just me in general. But you know, when I did my first match at MMWA up in St. Louis, a little over about a year and a half ago up at the Broadway Club.
Yeah.
I just went there to watch the matches that night. And I'm friends with one of the guys that wrestles up there. And he told me, he's like, hey, always bring your stuff, and I'm like, oh, of course,
Absolutely.
So I went there, me and a friend went up there to watch, and I just hear the guys that run the show, hey, Slammer, come over here. So I basically had a sit-down interview with Anthony Castaldi, and they just literally talked to me and give me an interview, and they're like, you want to wrestle tonight? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, you got a 15-minute Broadway with CJ Shine. I was like, okay. But
That's
CJ's one of the top baby faces there. So you got a baby face match.
Yeah.
And by default, I'm getting booed out of the building when I went out there. So I just went with it, and I did
good.
I don't tip it. I didn't even know I had the heel in me. And my buddy was sitting there. He's like, man, that's some of the best stuff I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, well, cool.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm glad it worked.
It's validation.
There's been a few places I've gone, where nobody's known me. If they're, booing or whatever, I don't mind to be a heel at all.
Right. I've heard a lot of people, that's always kind of a huge piece of conversation with people in the wrestling business, is whether they prefer to work heel or babyface. And, I think a lot of it does have to do with the character, what your moveset is and that sort of stuff. And just largely what your experiences are. How routinely are you working each style? And obviously there's a different psychology that goes behind each implementation. If you're going to work as a heel, it's pretty common, in those instances, you're going to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe pick apart a body part in particular. Maybe you're going to do things, whatever it takes to win, even if that's a little bit of cheating, to put it simply. But, as a baby face, obviously, you typically do things above board. Have you noticed that whenever you've had those situations present themselves, whenever you say you went with it as a heel, did you implement some of kind of the more traditional heelish things, beg off the crowd and cheat to win, that sort of stuff?
I can't really say that I did anything to cheat to win. The only horrible thing that I've done is pretty much when I turned on Benjamin Trust at the last Blood, Sweat, and Beers Pro Wrestling Epic here a few weeks ago. That's the first big turn that I've really ever done on somebody. So
okay,
kind of felt.
I thought you were gonna say that you punched a baby in the face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of done something a little bit bad. I punched a little baby.
I just choke slammed a little baby in its car.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I mean, it's paralyzed now, but no big deal.
Yeah. They're not coming after the promotion or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a part of wrestling. That's what we do.
It's the name of the game.
Your kids are forfeit.
It was a working baby. It was a part of
Working baby.
It was one of the many weapons that were there that day.
So you mentioned the name Benjamin Trust. Benjamin Trust is going to be a guest on the ATI podcast here in a couple of weeks, and I know that you guys have had a few interactions in the business already. I would guess by your phraseology here that you guys have worked as partners or tag team partners in the past, and you quote unquote turned on him here recently. Tell us a little bit more about that backstory.
Well, let's see. We had our first match against each other at Pro Wrestling Epic back, up in Alton. We had a one-on-one match, and pretty good match. It was called Slam Wars. So he won. He's a winner. Good for him. Then we had a tag team match at the same place, and we won. Good for us. And now we're probably going to have match number 3. So now you're going to get to see a little bit of Hollywood Slammer come out to the next Pro Wrestling Epic.
There you go.
So
I'd pay good money for that if I wasn't all the way in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon's got the unfortunate benefit of being quite the distance from us, unfortunately at times. But I know whenever Brandon gets back, we're going to take up some opportunities to get him a little bit more pro wrestling exposure for sure.
Oh, there's plenty of it to go see too.
Yeah.
I would love it.
I know Cape Championship Wrestling, you've done a lot of work there. Let's talk about some of the other promotions that you work for. I know New Breed Wrestling in particular, you're the TV champ there. Is that correct?
I am the TV champ, the current TV champ. I guess 265, 268 days, something like that now.
Tell me how that works with New Breed Wrestling being a TV champ, because kind of that phraseology, that title in years of old, guys that have been fans of the business 30 plus years will remember TV championships and other prior promotions. And that's something that's defended, it has that phraseology, that terminology for a reason, and it's defended on TV all the time. Are they broadcasting these over YouTube, live, Twitch, something like that? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah. New Breed is based out of Eldon.
Okay.
It's around Lake of the Ozarks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually on TV on Saturday nights in that area. I don't know how much ground it covers up there, but we do have an hour show that's on every week up there, and they just put together some of the matches from like the previous event. So whatever, like last night, there was probably 3 matches from our last event. So each week there's about 3 matches that make up that show. And then you can go on YouTube, and those matches are on YouTube. So the show that's on TV is on YouTube as well, but it is actually on TV. So if somebody's flipping through their channels at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday night up in that area, they will run across New Breed Wrestling. So yeah, I actually do defend the television title on television.
Well, it makes all the sense in the world, because otherwise I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for a promotion to have a TV title.
Yeah, well, I would love to believe that it's actually the TV title on radio.
On radio.
Just on radio the entire time. That would be perfect.
That would be interesting, a radio title. I'm sure that, TV's only been around for so long. I think predominantly wrestling wasn't even in TV markets until like the 50s in some cases. I think there's broadcasts as early as the 40s in some case, like Chicago, I think technically has the earliest broadcast. It might have been late 30s. I think it was like early 40s. I can't remember now. But nonetheless, your TV broadcast obviously is something that's a little bit more recent in pro wrestling history, because a lot of folks don't realize this too when it comes to the history of professional wrestling, is that Abraham Lincoln, one of our former presidents, was a professional wrestler. It's something that the boys did in camps and things of that ilk to entertain themselves. Yeah, absolutely. And
presidents would just beat the shit out of each other
100%
in the middle of the forest with a couple of wooden planks, just smashing the shit over their heads. There are cannonballs involved.
It reminds me of, in the 90s, of course, I was a huge professional wrestling fan. That's a lot of my preteen years and that sort of thing. And WWF was hitting it hot, as well as WCW at the time, as the middle of the Monday Night Wars. And our school was actually building a new gymnasium. It was called Project Acorn was this thing. The concept was, you plant a nut, the tree blooms, and so on and so forth. So it was
that sounds like a government operation.
It does kind of, yeah. For sure. It's a covert CIA operation.
Project Acorn. Yeah.
But we would have our simulated wrestling matches there, because they would leave out styrofoam beams and stuff out there. So we would beat the crap out of each other with those styrofoam beams, and they would explode. We'd have hardcore matches out there. And it was I think it was right before they started doing the 24/7 concept with the hardcore title too. But I know that was kind of a huge thing as well. But I say that to say this too, in your experiences already, have you experienced a lot of matches where they've implemented, no disqualification, hardcore matches? Is that a style that you work very much, Slammer?
No, I never do. And in Missouri, that we have a commission in Missouri, so all those rules, there's no thumbtacks and blood, nothing really hardcore or anything like that. So pretty much in Missouri, you're going to get a basic wrestling match. Now, if you go across the river to Illinois, where there is no commission, you'll get your
more extreme
thumbtacks and tables and light bulbs and all that. But I'm not really interested in getting too involved with.
What? Why not? I mean, it just sounds like it's so healthy for you. I mean, you're a young buck. Why wouldn't you want a couple of push pins in your eyes? I don't know.
I've got to go to work on Monday, and I don't know what UPS would think if I went in there with a big bandage on my head from the light bulb slicing me open.
Just say Black Friday. Just say Black Friday.
Fair enough right now. Yeah.
Like this job, man. This job's doing it to me.
Yeah.
Box fell on my head.
Now that you say that, it makes a lot more sense. I knew that Missouri did have an athletic commission, but I didn't really put two and two together because, we had recently sponsored an event, but it was for Grandel Wrestling, but it was over at Pops, which is across the river.
The river.
And yes, and so there was some hardcore activity over there. I think at hardcore matches, there's a time and a place for them. As an adult now, I see that. When it comes to the psychology of a match or an angle, depends on where you're at in the storytelling. But, just to have one for the sake of having one, I'm not sure that it's not something that I'm like necessarily tuning in for.
Right. Me too. I don't have to watch every match be like that. But if the main event, involves some tables and some chairs or whatever, that's fine. Well, I will say I did get Superstar Steve did attack me with a kendo stick a couple times here at New Breed. So I guess our match isn't going to involve that, but that's a whole other story. That's my next match at New Breed, December 10th. I will be defending the title against Superstar Steve. So if he uses a kendo stick this time, he'll just get disqualified. So
yeah, there you go.
That probably won't be involved, or he won't win a title.
Sure enough. And when it comes to match rules and that sort of thing, so let's say somebody is watching this for the first time. Yeah, is there a huge consistency with match rules between the various promotions that you're working with right now, whether it's Cape Championship Wrestling, whether it's New Breed Wrestling?
Well, I think the rules pretty much are the same everywhere, down to like a 10 count outside the ring. I mean, sometimes you might get somewhere they'll be like, I think our last New Breed, I think they implemented the 20-second rule outside the ring.
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, rules mainly the same everywhere I've been.
Well, rules are necessary as a part of a pro wrestling match because it helps create those creative guidelines for you to lay out your artistry. Quite frankly, you guys are artists in the ring. You guys are telling a story. And that pivots me into my next point, and that is, I know that wrestlers, a sensitive subject always is, when people start using that word fake. While the outcomes might be predetermined, it does not make, you going through a table or you getting hit with a kendo stick feel any better, or you landing on that mat. It doesn't make that feel any better. These are real bumps that you guys are taking. There's contact sometimes, sometimes there's a potato thrown in there. It's not to say that everybody's out there trying to kill each other, but there's also that train of thought, that's wrestling style that's called strong style, where they are laying stuff in. And, you guys are in many respects more modern day gladiators, because it does take a tough person to be able to withstand that very routinely.
Now, real quick, Barrett, for a non-watcher of wrestling, just to clarify for the audience, by bump, do you mean cocaine?
No, definitely not cocaine. not in this instance. Okay. But, if we were in the 90s and talking about wrestling, I'd say that's a very real possibility. But yeah.
Taking real bumps constantly. Heart problems all over.
So bumps, to get explicit with it, of course, is any time that you're hitting something or something's hitting you, essentially. But usually it's with relation to you hitting the mat or hitting the ground, things of that ilk. Right, Slammer?
That's right. Anytime if you land on your back, you're taking a bump.
Right, and so there's
your face, you're just taking a face bump. So
that's right. But there is a technique to doing these things, right?
Yes.
So you don't just want to run around, not trained and think that you're going to go out there and have a 5-star wrestling classic too. So, we definitely, there's a reason for those disclaimers.
That's a good idea to maybe know how to do a few of these things before you do it.
Right.
Yeah. So it means that you're not a masochist and want all that pain to be inflicted upon you constantly. So, it's understandable.
Absolutely. And Slammer, I also wanted to talk to you about some other stuff that you've been involved with as well. I know that recently, so we're all kind of from the Mineral area. I am, living the majority of my life in this area. Brandon as well. We played in the music scene in this area. I know that you're a Mineral area native as well. They recently actually had a promotion here in the Farmington area. It was at the Farmington Coliseum, which used to be the old, I forget what it was called before. It was like
Ye Old Opry?
Plumbers Family Theater out on 67. Yeah.
I think I know where you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yep, on the way to Knoblik, it's out there on the side.
Right by the Knoblik Lookout Tower.
That's right.
Which also, for anybody that's outside of that region, hearing Knoblik is probably really difficult for you to swallow right now. So just know that is a town, and it's a place.
Yeah. It's not a euphemism.
Nothing. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
It's just something you grow up with.
Get your minds out of the gutter, everybody. So
yeah, come on, guys. Come on.
This is a clean
It's not us at all. It's
so
very clean.
Farmington Coliseum is the name of the venue now, and I know it was a Lucha Libre production that was putting it on a showcase. I think a lot of people, when they saw the advertisements for it, I think originally it was supposed to go down in the summer, and then it got canceled / rescheduled. I don't know necessarily the reason that happened, but I think a lot of people initially saw the price, were apprehensive, and were thinking that this was a sham of some sort. But then I know that it did actually happen in early October, and you were involved in it. So tell us a little bit about that.
All I know is the Mexican restaurant over here, Si Senor, I kept getting a message from the guy that owns it asking me to promote this poster, and I kept looking at the poster. I'm like, what is this? It was blurry, and it didn't make any sense. I'm like, Farmington Coliseum. I'm like, what does this mean? So I just kind of brushed it off because I just figured it was just not real. Well, he sent me another poster of it, and I noticed one of the wrestlers on it. And I messaged the wrestler, and I was like, hey, is this real? And he said, yeah, I'm helping try to get some of these guys together for this. And I was like, it's literally in my hometown. I'd love to be on this, and he really never got back to me. And I had seen him at one of the shows. He's like, did you see the ticket prices for this? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, man, that's just a lot. And I'm like, yeah. So I started getting more messages from the guy that owns the restaurant down there. And so I asked him, I said, who do I need to talk to get on this show? So he gave me the actual name and number of the promoter from the Promocios Neta Lucha Libre that was bringing it through. Okay. So I messaged him, and he's like, yeah, I want you on this, need you to bring somebody to fight. And I was like, okay.
Oh, wow.
So I got a hold of a guy from Cape Wrestling to come up, and he was to come up, have a match, and so this was all looked like it was going to happen. I had a lot of people that were going to come watch me wrestle, but then they were like, hey, I'd love to come, but $70 is a little steep, and I'm like, I understand. And at the time, like Psycho Clown, Blue Demon, and a couple other guys were supposed to be there.
Correct.
So, and they actually put a lot of events on at that Farmington Coliseum. They have something going on there like weekly, not wrestling, but just other stuff. So anyway, the day of the event, the guy I was wrestling was actually en route from Cape to come up here. And I was about a half hour away from going to the Farmington Coliseum for my time to be there. And I had a message from the promoter that said, event's canceled.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, my guy's on his way up here, so I got to get a hold of him. Hey, it's canceled, He's like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. And it was pretty much at that. And I was like, I messaged him back. I'm like, hey man, you might want to put this like on Facebook so people don't like start showing up.
Right.
Within 10 minutes, he has like, event canceled, postponed. So.
And this is the first go around of it being.
This is the first go around. So I just let it be. It's like, well, it's obviously not going to happen. Then I start getting messages from him. Will you wrestle October 9th or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Whether it happens or not, it's like, it's not really out of my way. I'm close to there. So I told him, sure. So he's like, send me a picture. I'll put you on the poster. So I actually got, put me on the poster. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But I thought maybe they might drop the prices this go around. Because he said they couldn't get the wrestlers in from Mexico or whatever. I don't know. So
on this one, did they just ask for your firstborn child for the admission?
Yeah, that and your mortgage of your house.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I mean, sell your kid to us. It's no big deal.
I think the price tiers were like $55 was the cheapest ticket for general admission, and then it was $75 for VIP.
It's like $75 for VIP,
Yeah.
55. Yeah. 55 or 70, whatever. Yeah.
There was no in between. There was nothing less.
Yeah. So that October 9th came along, and I'm just like looking at my phone all day. I'm like, well, they haven't said it's not happening. And then I seen like a post from the promoter. He was at the Farmington Coliseum, and he had, I can't think of his name, the mini guy that was there. So anyway, they were there talking. I'm like, okay, he's got one of the luchas there, and they're talking. I'm like, I think this is really going to happen. So I went there, and it really happened. And I mean, we had there was an okay turnout. I mean, they weren't hanging from the rafters, but
sure.
I think if the prices could have been a little bit better, that place would have been filled to the max easily.
Yeah, I know myself and some of my wrestling friends were interested in the event, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to pay that amount. And, you know, we would love to support such an event in this area, but I'm sorry, you're just not going to get people with those price points.
It is such an awesome building too. I mean, it's big. They could put a ton of chairs in there. They had awesome lighting. They had good sound. Yeah. I mean, it's the perfect place for wrestling. I'm just like, anybody that wants to bring a ring down here and put on a show should contact them and do a show and have prices not be $70.
And I think with the Lucha Libre guys and those promotions too, they're having a lot of issues with visas right now. It's not just a wrestling thing. I mean, this is a whole international issue at the moment.
And I will say this, Blue Demon was there, and man, the people that came to see him, man, they were as excited as if I was to see Hulk Hogan come in somewhere. It was crazy.
He is perhaps the equivalent of Hulk Hogan in Mexico for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty neat to see how excited everybody was to see him.
Yeah, I would imagine, and he's definitely somebody I would have liked to have seen. You know, he actually did some WCW stuff back in the day too. Was on WCW television. Conan, who I'm a huge fan of, I listen to his podcast pretty routinely. He booked a lot of the Lucha Libre talent for WCW and handled those relations with the WCW organization as well. So I want to talk to you too about some upcoming events. What upcoming events do you have going on? You want to tell the folks about our listeners where they can catch you at?
Well, as of right now, my last event of the year is December 10th in Eldon, Missouri for New Breed Wrestling. I will be defending the New Breed television title against Superstar Steve. He's attacked me a couple times. All he had to do was ask me for a title match. I would have said, yeah. I don't know why he had to hit me with a stick from behind. Literally, all he had to do was say, can I have a match? And I would have said, yeah. So that's on him. So anyway, I have to unfortunately work at UPS that day. So as long as I can get off work early enough to make the 3-hour drive to Eldon to make it on time, I am the last match. So I do plan on being there as long as something psycho doesn't happen and our work day get out of hand. So that'd be my last event of the year. And I actually have the New Breed schedule for next year, but I can't think of what the first day. We won't have our first match. This will be the last match at New Breed until March. We won't have another match until March there. I am scheduled for January 14th at South Broadway for MMWA, so that will probably be my first match of the new year. So, and Cape, they're the second Saturday of every month up there at Broadway for MMWA, and Cape Championship Wrestling. We're 99% of the time we're always the last Saturday of the month in Cape. Wherever we'll be at, you know, we're usually at the AC Braze Arena there in Cape, but we do go other places. Like last night we were in Delta, which is just outside of Cape. Sometimes we've been in Charleston. There's another building down there in Cape we might be at. So the location might vary, but we're usually the last Saturday of the month. And I do know on February 4th, that should be a Saturday or a Sunday, I can't think right off the top of my head, I'll be back at Pro Wrestling Epic over in Alton. So I don't know if that will involve me and Benjamin Trust or what. I just know that I'm scheduled to be there. So
and there's a chance that it can go down, right? Because you guys have some unresolved issues now.
We do. He's got one on me, and we got a tag team win together. So it's time for me to get one over on him, brother.
Can I make a pitch to you about that match?
Sure.
Yeah. So this is this is my suggestion. Have you ever thought about using full bang cans as weapons against that man?
I hadn't.
A holster,
that, but it will.
You get a holster around your waist.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's compelling. I'd love to see a bang can get splattered over some man's head.
Any truth to the rumor that you're a part of the bang gang?
The good old-fashioned bang gang.
But I just got to know where's this going for you, Slammer? What are some goals that you have for the next year?
Oh gosh. Well, it'd be. I will say I've got championships on my mind. I want to be the champion everywhere I'm at. So why not? I'd be lying if I said I didn't want that to happen. I want to wrestle as many matches as I can. I think I'll have a pretty full schedule like I did this year. I just want to wrestle. I want to have fun. I want to meet everybody and just
absolutely.
I just love to be involved. It's cool going everywhere, and so I guess that's the best answer I can have. I just want to do as much as I can.
Sure. Well, I know that I kind of I want to bring a highlight to your attitude, though, too. And you mentioned this earlier, is the sense that, well, maybe I'll get a chance, or maybe I'll get a chance, or maybe I'll get a chance. I think, in many respects, that you folks that could be watching today, which is a huge piece of what this show is, why we do this show, is to encourage people to chase their dreams. And, you just having that hope and then finally getting your chance, and kind of things have taken off since 2017, I guess, chronologically for you, and getting your opportunities, it's never too late to chase your dreams, I think, for sure. And I'm sure you could speak to that even a little bit more.
Oh yeah. 100%. I tell never give up, no matter how old you are or young you are. If this is what you want to do, or whatever you want to do in life, just go for it. Even if you're busy. I'm a busy person. I got a lot going on in my life, but
sure.
All I've ever wanted to do is be a wrestler, and I'm doing everything that I can to keep this dream alive and keep chasing it. So
even if it means punching a baby in the face,
even if you have to punch a baby in the face, do what
you got to punch a baby in the face sometimes.
Absolutely. And I wanted to bring a highlight to another really cool thing. I think that you got an opportunity to that a lot of people don't, especially in the wrestling business. And that is, I know this might be a difficult thing, but I know that your father had recently passed away.
Yeah.
And somebody gave you the honor of, carrying out, I believe it was a Veterans Championship belt for a show shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah. I've wrestled at Illinois Elite Wrestling over in they're around the Alton area too, Alton Grafton area. Douglas O'Shea and Alan Williams run that, and I had one match there, and they had me come back for another one, and the last match I had was literally on the day of my dad's funeral, and I had to get away that night. I just needed to do something, and when I got there, Alan said, "Hey, I got something I want to show you," and they just have a belt that was made that has all the armed forces logos on the belt. And he said, if you'd like, he goes, would you like to come out after we do the national anthem and, just talk about your dad for a minute? I'm like, yeah, my dad's
That's
awesome.
incredible.
I would love to do this. We just had a big military send off for him, that day. And it was really cool to be able to just go out there and say a few words. 'Cause it was hard that day. It's been a pretty rough go just in general. I still can't wrap my head around that this has happened, but what an honor for them. That I appreciate them so much for letting me do that. And it meant a whole lot to me.
On a serious note, Slammer, you got friends here now. So me and Barrett have been through it. Josh, who's normally on the podcast, have been through it. So, man, it's part of it.
Yeah.
So it's
a hard go. Part of life, and we've all lost our fathers probably much sooner than what they should have. That they had plenty of quality years left.
Yeah, wasn't prepared for it. Never wanted to happen, and
what
my dad happened to punch one baby too many, and his hand exploded, and he just bled out right there.
Cause of death officially from the coroner.
Yeah, it was. Explosive baby syndrome.
That's why Brandon wants to talk about babies so much.
Yeah. It's a soft spot in my heart.
And there's a soft spot on their skull as well. So
yeah, it really is. Right. And sometimes it's explosive. I don't know.
It's like a detonation button.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those babies.
Well, we talked about some of the upcoming events. I know that people can also find you basically across all of social media. Is that right, Slammer? You've got a TikTok,
find
Instagram,
me everywhere. Yeah, Facebook. I am Chris Slammer on Facebook. I have a Slammer fan page as well. I think it's just Slammer. I'm on Twitter at MaxGym, MacsGym. Instagram, Chris_Slammer, all lowercase letters. I'm at Slammermania on TikTok. I think I'm at MaxGym on Snapchat. I try to Chris McFarland or Chris Slammer on YouTube. So I think that covers all my social medias and
people can find you.
Get a T-shirt.
Right. Very good.
Mouthpiecestudios.com. He has all my stuff on his page. You get T-shirts, fanny packs, bandanas, the whole bit. Or visit me at my merch table at an event. Get a T-shirt. I'll tell you what. Let me show you.
Slammer buddy.
Get yourself a slam buddy, brother.
There you go. You can't beat that. An homage to the old wrestling buddies.
Slam buddies and get your own made. These things rule, and people are loving them.
Is that one of your hot ticket items at the merch table?
That's my hot ticket item right now. So
cool.
T-shirts, bandanas, slam buddies, autographed pictures. I got the little rubber bracelets, ball cards, sunglasses. I do it all, brother.
That's awesome, man.
Nice.
Yep, you got to be out there, and you got to have the take homes, the leave behinds. It's marketing 101 without question. Absolutely. And before I get you off here, Slammer, you've been so gracious with your time. I wanted to ask you about your collection because I've noticed that you're quite the avid collector as well. And obviously, anybody on the call seeing us on video today, you got quite the collection behind you.
I do.
How long have you been collecting?
Since I was a kid, man. We got. I don't know how good you can see everything.
It'll come out in the wash. Don't worry about it.
Got my Hasbro's first series, second series. That's the whole Bendham series. Remember the Bendhams?
Wow. Yep.
That's all. I think there was one more series they made with like Rikishi. I think. I don't know that 100% for sure. If there is one more series, that's the series I don't have.
Yeah.
But I got all the retro Mattels that they've been coming out with for like the last 5 or 6 years. The only one I'm missing is Ric Flair. For some reason, I cannot find the Ric Flair. So, yeah, just a little bit of everything. This is the weight belt Hulk Hogan gave me.
That's awesome.
So,
was there a full-on man in your room with you?
A full what?
Sir? Was it a cutout? I didn't know if it was a. Oh, okay. Yeah.
A warrior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, warrior.
There you go.
So that's that stuff. I've got magazines. I got magazines in boxes. I got T-shirts in a closet in another room. So,
what magazines were you a big collector of? PWI, Observer,
mainly WWF magazine. I think I got every episode, every issue from June. When was WrestleMania 5? It was 88.
84 was the first one.
So June 1988. I think I'm missing like 3 or 4 copies of WWF magazine from June 88 until they quit making it. And then I've got more when they started making it again until they finally stopped again. And I got a bajillion Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Wrestling World, every magazine you can think of that used to be on the shelves, Wrestling Eye, all those things. I've got a million of those just in boxes.
Well, hopefully we'll be seeing you in that PWI Top 500 next year. What do you say?
I'm gonna be in it.
There you go.
We put that out there in the universe right now. So I will be in the top 500 on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Top 500 next year. You heard it here first, brother.
Yep.
Make it happen.
Another ATI podcast exclusive, folks. So we want to thank Slammer for his time today. You've been an awesome guest, sir, and I appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing what you guys have in the works.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoys it and you get a bajillion views on it.
Screw them, man. Who cares?
Yeah. All right. We'll catch you next time, Slammer. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.
This is Barrett from the ATI Podcast. Each week, Josh and I discuss current events, pop culture, music, TV, movies, politics, sports. Nothing is out of bounds. You can also tune in to learn about rising artists, small businesses. Whether it's music, graphic design, filmmaking, or even a brick-and-mortar mom-and-pop shop, we will be spotlighting folks and their endeavors. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Anchor, or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts. Just search ATI Podcast. We would like to thank you for your continued support, and as always, please stay safe out there.